You refrain from making any purchases, either in stores or online, to shun fast food, getting gas for a full day. I know. That look on your face says it all. You're right. It's so fucking...
We have the worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it.
No, this is a huge Democratic Party problem. If you look at Democratic cities, they are terribly run. They have incredibly high taxes. It is impossible to build, so the cost of housing... Let me finish. I'll give you a chance. The cost of housing is crazy in places like New York and Chicago.
Maher just pulled off the unthinkable. He got CNN's Fareed Zakaria to admit that. Wait for it. Some of Trump's policies were actually good for America. Yep, cue the dramatic music and gasps from the CNN green room. On Real Time with Bill Maher, Zakaria squirmed, chuckled, and ultimately surrendered to reality, accidentally committing journalism in the process. It was less of an interview and more of a masterclass in irony, with Maher serving up truth bombs while Zakaria laughed at the mess his network helped create. And oh, it was glorious. Let's dive into this delightful moment of media honesty. But before we do, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss more takedowns, hot takes, and moments that make the mainstream
Wants to sell a visa, you get permanent residency. By the way, I looked this up, we are hardly the first country to do this. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. But, I remember...
Yeah, we actually have a version of it. It's sort of called, I think it's called the EB5 or something like that. So it's fine to do it. I actually think maybe it's because I'm, very patriotic. I think 5 million, we should be charging 20 million or, American citizenship is worth more than that.
It comes with Ukrainian minerals, though.
But what I love about Trump is, he said, you get the green card, but with this, the gold card, you get extra privileges. like what? You get to vote twice?
I don't know about you, but this one genuinely made me do a double take. Fareed Zakaria, yes, that Fareed Zakaria from CNN, the network that practically schedules hourly Trump bashing sessions, actually admitted that Trump's gold card permanent residency policy is a good idea. I mean, talk about a plot twist. This is the same guy who's criticized nearly every move Trump ever made, from border walls to burger choices. But here's the kicker. It gets even juicier. Zakaria didn't just stop at giving credit where credit is due. Oh no, he took it a step further and casually suggested that the current price tag of the gold card, already a jaw-dropping $5 million, should be raised to a mind-boggling $20 million. That's right, he basically said, if you're rich and want to live in America, it better hurt a little more. Coming from someone who usually preaches about equity and inclusivity, this take was rich, pun absolutely intended.
Well, now you're speaking Chicago language. I'm for it, but it's part of a bigger package on immigration reform. It's been 42 years since the last one. So I'm not against it, but it's part of a whole.
Now, let me just pause here for a second, because I should have said this earlier. Bill Maher is sneakily brilliant. Seriously, the man's got Jedi-level skills when it comes to drawing out the truth. Just look at how he got not one, but 2 sworn lefties to admit, on air no less, that they actually like the Trump policy. It was like watching a magician pull confessions out of hats. Maher didn't just stumble into that moment. No, he set the tone. He teed up the gold card policy with a casual, hey, this one's actually smart, and boom, they followed his lead like political dominoes. Even Rahm Emanuel, the ultimate Democrat insider, chimed in and admitted that it's been a long time since a policy like that was proposed. A long time? Really, Rahm. Makes you wonder what his party was up to during all those years in power. Were they just too busy virtue signaling to come up with anything that actually made sense? Now, here's the most interesting part. Watch Emmanuel Rahm criticizing the woke policies of his own
party. There is a general rule. I had this when I was mayor. Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those 3 things and your city's going to be fine. We've gone through 5 years where people became way too permissive of culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS, and that is a disaster. Yeah. And our school, and I'll say this about our schools. I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom.
starting to look like the left is turning on itself. And honestly, it's kind of entertaining to watch. For a bit of context, so you're not just jumping in blind, during real time, Bill Maher brought up a brutal statistic. Why does the mayor of Chicago have a dismal 6.6% approval rating? I mean, that's not just low, that's you should probably resign and rethink your life choices low. Rahm Emanuel, former mayor himself, and no stranger to political spin, didn't even try to sugarcoat it. Instead, he threw his own party under the bus with a smile. He claimed the left has become so obsessed with non-essential culture war battles that it's making the entire movement look out of touch. And frankly, toxic. Then came the rant. Oh, it was glorious. He basically begged the woke crowd to stop turning every locker room and bathroom into a battlefield and maybe, just maybe, refocus on something that actually matters. Like education, classrooms, reading, math, the basics. It was a rare moment of sanity wrapped in a mid-show mic drop. The irony, it took a Democrat roasting his own side on HBO for anyone to say what millions of Americans have been thinking for years. But Rahm doesn't end his rant there. In fact, he was just getting warmed up.
Worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it. We literally are a superpower. We're facing off against China with 1.4 billion people, and 2/3 of our children can't read 8th grade level. So no more about the lot. Wait a second, I'm out on a roll for a second. No more. I don't hear.
I gave him the light.
Yeah, I don't want to hear another word about the classroom. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom until you tell me what you're going to do with the classroom.
As much as this entire exchange is funny, and trust me, it is, it's also deeply disheartening. We've become so permissive, so desperate to avoid offending anyone, that we've allowed a fringe minority of disillusioned ideologues to dictate what's good and what's not. These activists, cloaked in the language of progress, have cherry-picked studies and peddled questionable research to justify their intrusive, often inappropriate agendas, like demanding access to women's bathrooms and locker rooms under the guise of inclusivity. Let's be real, we've tossed our common sense and long-standing values out the window and gulped down the ideological Kool-Aid without blinking. What was once considered obvious, like protecting the privacy and safety of women, has been labeled controversial. And for what? To appease the loudest voices in the room. But here's the silver lining. It seems like even some high-profile figures on the left, like Rahm Emanuel and Fareed Zakaria, are finally waking up. Maybe it's Trump, maybe it's Bill Maher acting as the reluctant voice of reason, or maybe it's just the weight of reality crashing in. Whatever the cause, it's a welcome shift because someone finally is saying what the rest of us have been thinking all along.
This is a huge Democratic Party problem. If you look at Democratic cities, they are terribly run. They have incredibly high taxes. It is impossible to build, so the cost of housing. Let me finish. I give you a chance. Cost of housing is crazy in places like New York and Chicago. If you look at Democratic states, look at New York versus Florida. Okay, roughly the same population. The budget of New York State is twice that of Florida. What do they have? Streets paved with gold? I live in New York. I pay the highest taxes in New York. You get nothing for it. And I think that is the image people have of the Democratic Party. Sorry. Lots of taxes, lots of regulation, but nothing gets done.
Hey,
and I think
I live in LA.
Maher didn't just get them to admit, begrudgingly of course, that Trump was actually doing something right. No, he went a step further. He got them to turn on each other. It was like watching a political version of Survivor, with Rahm Emanuel and Fareed Zakaria subtly, and not so subtly, pointing fingers across the ideological table. Just listen to how they start blaming each other, and, by extension, their own party, for the utter mess we've been living through. The sky-high cost of living, endless red tape strangling small businesses, inflation running wild, taxes that make you question your life choices. The hits just keep coming. It's as if they suddenly realized, wait, maybe we're the problem. This little implosion we witnessed, it's not just political theater, it's poetic justice. After 4 years of lecturing everyone else on how to run the country, the left is now devouring itself in a public spectacle of regret and blame. And honestly, we're loving every single second of it. Grab the popcorn, folks, because when even the architects of the chaos start questioning the blueprint, you know the narrative is crumbling.
You have to own this and realize The answer to everything is not more taxes, more regulation. People are fed up of that, and they feel that it isn't working.
The Democrats, look, as somebody who produced the best graduation growth in the country, and he changed our high school.
You were a good mayor.
No,
I agree.
No, that's not the point. The point was we changed, but I'll take that. The point isn't the rules. The point is the results. And the party has gotten way too focused on what the rules are. And I do agree with you on this. We have made it impossible to function as a city or as a state.
Here's the million-dollar question. Did Fareed Zakaria suddenly have an epiphany, or has he known all along, quietly nodding along while Biden was still calling the shots? Because let's not kid ourselves. For the past several years, CNN has been the epicenter of anti-Trump rhetoric. It wasn't just commentary. It was a full-blown campaign. Skewed panels. Check. Echo chambers stacked with Democrats, while the lone Republican was there purely for optics? Absolutely. And let's not forget the news reports that felt more like hit pieces, painting Trump as the villain of every story, no matter the context. So now that Zakaria is having this public moment of clarity, it begs the question, where was this energy when Biden was driving the country into the ditch? Was it professional loyalty, political pressure, or just a calculated silence? Because either he's been willfully blind or selectively mute, and neither option makes him look great. This sudden awakening is convenient, sure, but it also raises eyebrows. Maybe the truth isn't setting him free. Maybe it's just finally catching up with...
Example of this example, here in, obviously in LA, it took a fire and a natural disaster to make you realize, you know what, that rule's not that important. In Pennsylvania, a bridge collapsed. All of a sudden we go, well, that environmental rule is just not important. We got to build a bridge. It's much more important. And I think the Democratic Party should take a look at and say, we're going to be honest, like we did in 1994 with reinventing government. Everything is on the table. Nothing is safe. And we can just look at it and say, that's essential. Those two things get out of here. And that doesn't happen. And that's a fair criticism.
Maybe this is your next Democratic vice presidential candidate.
And that right there is what many of us have been shouting from the rooftops for years. If the Democratic Party has any hope of staging a real comeback, one that resonates with everyday Americans, they've got to stop playing political dress-up and start getting serious. That means putting everything on the table and doing away with the fluff, the distractions, and especially the policies that defy basic common sense. You can't fix a broken system with pronoun debates and performative activism. You can't win back working class voters by obsessing over ideological purity while ignoring kitchen table issues like inflation, safety, education, and job security. People are exhausted. They want results, not lectures. They want solutions, not social experiments. So yes, if Democrats are serious about reclaiming relevance, they need to ditch the virtue signaling echo chambers and refocus on what actually matters to real people. Because common sense isn't partisan. It's just been missing in action for far too long.
Refrain from making any purchases, either in stores or online, to shun fast food, getting gas for a full day. I know. That look on your face says it all. You're right. It's so fucking...
In the end, Bill Maher simply held up a mirror, and the left didn't like what it saw. As voices like Zakaria and Rahm break ranks, the cracks are widening. If the Democrats want redemption, it starts with truth, not theater, and maybe, just maybe, a little common sense. And that'll be all for today. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more interesting videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next clip.